Why is he even bothering? He is the kind of stupid that just absolutely baffles me. Like, Frank, I can understand. He's just dumb and makes bad decisions. John, just so many things that are completely out of left field, and I'm like, why? He's a special kind of stupid where, like, there's no rational basis behind anything he does. His brain works like a fucking insect, and there are just random nerve pulses that just tell him, do this. Like, Frank, some of it makes sense. Like, oh, I'm going to start a business. And then he does it poorly. Oh, I'm going to sue this person in court. And then he does it poorly. Like, there's some sort of rational reasoning behind some of his decisions. It's just he's really bad at it, doesn't know how to do it, makes stupid mistakes, dumb decisions along the way, but there's some sort of rational reasoning behind it. John, it is just so fucking random, and it's just like a unique form of stupidity where it's like below incompetence, and it is just random shit that happens.
Best for humans, while vegan diets are also the best for humans. How does that work? Hey everyone, John here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to dive deep into the topic.
That is a contradictory statement, and both cannot be true.
Of dieting, specifically a carnivore diet being the best for human health and the vegan diet being best for human health, because the carnivore people who are promoting a carnivore diet obviously have all the scientific evidence in the world to support their claims that the carnivore diet is the best. While at the same time, the vegan movement and plant-based people have their scientific research pointing to the exact same fact that their diet is the best. Or is it the fact that humans are a little bit too easily trusting of different belief systems and adopt different identities for themselves and then confirm their own biases to suit their own belief systems? So what does the science actually say? So I used to be someone who just outsourced my scientific research to people who are quote unquote qualified to do the research, to read the research, to study, to understand papers. And that's the lazy way that most of us do it. And it's not strange because everyone will tell you that unless you're a
Well, John, the problem is you're fucking stupid. So you have no ability to understand anything. So you claiming I did my own research and came to this conclusion, that means nothing. You'll read something, think it's true when it's not true because you're an idiot. Experts, they will read things and determine whether or not it's true based on the preponderance of evidence and their actual understanding on the subject.
Qualified, you shouldn't be reading these papers because you are not qualified to even start to understand it. While the reality is that most people, if they put a little bit of effort and time and focus, they will be able to understand these studies very well. So we have to remember that we are human beings. We are very easily manipulated by our own thoughts, our own belief systems, other people's belief system, the government's belief system, political belief systems, tradition. All these things come into play in brainwashing us, not in a nefarious way all the time. It's just what...
Isn't this dipshit an anti-vaxxer?
Humans do, where we rub off each other and we share ideas and adopt other people's ideas, and we don't really take the time to analyze things from many different perspectives because it's kind of a pain in the ass, right? So this is very, very important to remember that we are humans, and so are scientists. The top scientists in the world, Nobel Prize winners, doesn't matter what kind of CV they have, they're all human beings at the end of the day, and they're taught to think in a certain way and to conclude different outcomes a certain way based on their training and belief systems. And science as a whole, and the way that the scientific world, the doctors of this world, and the industry of medical industry operates is based on a very strong belief system as well. So it's not...
No. There's a reason why science gets better. There's a reason why new technologies are developed and they're better. It's because they're not relying on personal bias and feelings. It's because they're relying on evidence.
Not based on science. It is based on a belief system that science can point towards reality and that we can find answers through doing experiments. And once we...
Like, does he not understand basic epistemology? So the scientific method is the best method we have now of obtaining truth. So yeah, I mean, you do have to put faith in the scientific method, but it's the best method we have of obtaining the truth. So, I mean, you could say believing in the scientific method is faith-based, but if it produces the best outcomes and gets us closer to the truth better than any other method, then what's the problem? Clearly, there's a rational basis to have faith in the scientific method. Just like how there's a rational basis for you to believe you have a mind, you're an individual, you're in the body, the world around you is real. I mean, all of that is taken on faith. There's no way to know if we're a brain in a vat and the world we're living in is like some virtual world and we're in a simulation like the Matrix. That all has to be taken on faith. So are you just going to throw out all of this and say, oh, well, who knows anything about anything? Everything could be untrue. It's all faith-based. Like, where does that get you? So what's better? What leads to better outcomes? What has more utility?
We get certain experiments to align with the outcomes that we believe were going to happen, then that becomes adopted as a truth or a certainty. So not every doctor, not every nutritionist, not every scientific researcher believes that just because a study or a vast majority of studies point towards a certain outcome that we are certain that this is a truth. A lot of scientists, although not many I've talked to, do come to the conclusion that we have to keep experimenting, keep narrowing down and focusing on finding out what kind of methodology.
Would he say this about cigarette smoking? Do we have to conduct more studies on cigarette smoking to find out if they're actually bad for you? Because there aren't any human randomized trials on smoking. The only studies we have are cross-sectional surveys and prospective cohorts. So is that not good enough evidence to determine smoking's bad for us? Are you going to have an agnostic position and say we need more studies and research to determine if smoking's good or bad?
We have to find and use to make sure that the conclusion we're coming to is actually correct. And we have to keep challenging these outcomes and conclusions to make sure that it's correct and not just use the same methodology over and over again, get the same results. And therefore, because we have a vast number of studies pointing towards the same outcome, that it has to be true. When in reality, it's because we are using the same methodology, the same perspective, the same belief system, and getting to the same conclusion, which is not really how science.
Yes, John, if you have an experimental design that is able to adequately isolate variables and determine whether or not an exposure is related to an outcome, and you perform that experiment again and again and again, and you see the same relationship between the exposure and the outcome, that is the absolute best way to determine whether or not an exposure is causally related to a given outcome. Like, I don't think he understands what he's saying. Because what he's saying is we need to completely change the experiment in a way where we can't have a like-for-like comparison and actually adequately determine whether or not the exposure is related to the outcome. We need massive heterogeneity between studies. That is completely opposite of what you want.
Should be done, in my opinion, because we have to criticize and scrutinize different methodologies and different ways of doing things and challenge it to do things in a different way and make sure that doing things in different ways still matches the same conclusion that all these other studies done in a specific way do. And so that is not very easy. It's not easy to get funding to do that. The medical and scientific system is driven by industry. That is not a secret. Most people know this. You have to get grants for your studies. You have to be in a certain alignment with the belief system of the scientific community. Otherwise, you're not going to pass the peer review. The peer review people who are reviewing the studies will flag it as nonsense or unscientific because it doesn't match the certain perspectives and standards that they have set for themselves and for the scientific community. So it's very difficult to get to the bottom of a lot of these things because it's not an open platform as it should be to find the truth. And so that is how we get so many different weird things promoted to us that are actually unhealthy and cause a lot of damage, like a lot of medicines, diets, and all kinds of different.
So again, medicines are getting better and more effective. They go through generations. The first generation of blood pressure medications were fairly dangerous and they had bad side effects. Now they're on like the 7th or 8th gen of a lot of these blood pressure meds, and they have practically zero side effects, and they only have upsides. So if you have uncontrollable blood pressure that's inexplicable, It's not from being overweight, not from consuming too much sodium. It's just some genetic factor. You need to rely on those medications, and they've only gotten better over time. So, like, is he saying we should never use medication? Should we never develop vaccines? Should we never develop antibiotics? Because they may have downsides and risks? Why ever bother improving anything and minimize the risks and improve the benefits? We could just die. Wouldn't it be better to just die and never use medications even when we need them? Like, I can guarantee you if this guy ever gets, like, fucking cancer or some shit, guess what? He's gonna go straight to the fucking hospital and get chemotherapy or get the fucking cancer vaccine that's being developed. As soon as all this fucking new age bullshit doesn't work, like praying to God, aligning your chakras, eating the carnivore diet, guess what? You're gonna reach a point where you realize, oh, I guess I'm going to go for the fucking cancer treatment now and get the vaccine or the chemotherapy or whatever the fuck I need to do. It always happens. All of these fucking people, when they have cancer and all of this new age bullshit fails, they all go to the fucking hospital as their last resort.
Different things. People have gone on the carnivore diet. They swear by it. People have gone on a plant-based diet and they swear by it. They've been decades eating a vegan diet. They're thriving. They're healthy. No complaints. Same with the carnivores. People have been on it for a long time. No complaints. And this is a very, very difficult subject to convey because of what I said about health being a very, very complicated, multifaceted topic, because it's not just the food that we're eating. It's our emotional health, our state, our energetic state, our environment, how much stress we have in our day-to-day life, the talk.
Buddy, this guy is not well. His channel is completely and utterly dead. His entire audience completely and utterly lost respect for him. There's no practical reason for him to upload anything at this point. Like, his social media career, fucking dead. Online coaching, dead. He can't make any money online anymore. The only fucking reason he's uploading this video is because he just fucking craves attention. This guy is a lonely, needy asshole, and he's only uploading just so that, 1.8k people fucking saw this video. Oh, yeah, that's the attention I need. I feel better now. That's the only fucking reason. Like, this guy is not fucking emotionally healthy.
Toxins were exposed to radiation, the pollution, etc. So many different things. And if you do feel good on a certain diet, that's great. But it's easy for us to jump into the conclusion of this specific eating pattern being the best because we feel amazing. And that is not the case. It's not only because of the nutrition. It's because of removing different things. It's because of the boost in motivation and purpose we might get by jumping on a diet and changing our identity from someone who's lazy, not really into healthy foods, to becoming a person of purpose, having health and vitality as a top priority in their life. You kind of change your whole identity, and that comes with a good amount of motivation and purpose in life, which in itself is a huge energy booster and makes you feel amazing. So there's so many different things that play a role in health and in the way that you feel while eating a certain thing. And it's good to experiment. It's good to try a carnivore diet. It's good to try a vegan diet, although I don't personally see the need for it unless you choose to have a certain belief system and you choose to believe in a certain thing and follow through no matter what the consequences are. Then that's fine. You can stick to that diet until the end of your life if you want to. But it's for people who are more open to just exploring different things and testing different things. It's good to just be aware that no matter if you feel good on a certain diet or not, it doesn't necessarily mean that this diet is going to be the perfect diet for you for the rest of your life. You might need to change things because nutrition deficiencies, health outcomes, certain things that go wrong can take.
Yeah, so I've been vegan for 15 years. I'm bigger and stronger than you've ever been. I can outlift you on practically every fucking lift. Maybe he can still squat more than me because I still have fucked up knees. But again, things are getting better. I'm probably going to be able to literally outlift him on every fucking lift. I've never had a nutritional deficiency in my entire life. All the blood tests I've ever gotten, never had a deficiency. Don't really have any fucking health problems and never had. I've had injuries. I've had diarrhea a couple times. But, like, again, no actual health problems. So, again, this is a fucking loser who's broke, had to live with his fucking parents and his wife's parents, can't make any fucking money, seeking fucking attention online, has complained about not feeling well, having bad joints, all this fucking shit, can't exercise, Have you figured it out yet, dipshit? Have you figured out any of this fucking crap? You're a fucking loser. You're an idiot. You can't get anything right. You're just dumb.
A very long time to show and express physically in our bodies. Deficiencies sometimes takes years, sometimes even decades to show signs of. And so just because it doesn't feel like you're missing something in the short term doesn't mean that you actually aren't missing something. And that is a very, very important thing. And so diet is very complex. A lot of people will say it's simple, and the people who say it is simple are the people who have an ideology and have decided that what they believe in is correct, and that is why it's so simple for them. It's because they believe that what they're doing is correct. They believe that the scientific studies that they are reading are the right ones, with the best methodologies, with the best methods, and with the best results. And so because of that belief, they will say it's simple, it's a truth, and there is no debating it. And that is because we're humans. Certain people and doctors and scientists say that one specific thing is good, while the other group of scientists says the exact opposite, both having evidence and science to support it, both claim that their science is superior to the other side, etc. It is because we are human beings with belief systems, with identities and biases, and that's just how it's always been, and perhaps how it's always going to be. And so if we want to avoid...
So he started off this video with a contradiction, saying both the carnivore diet and the vegan diet can be best for your health. That's a contradictory statement. And then he just blabbed about fucking nothing, not resolving the contradiction.
Falling into these traps and getting stuck in some sort of dietary...
In all likelihood, John's lifetime natty, like, I don't have any reason to believe he isn't. Like, anybody could be on gear. But I have no reason to believe he ever took anything.
Religion or belief system, then tread carefully, because a lot of us, myself included, fall into a very, very deep rabbit hole of bias and scientific consensus that isn't really a consensus and is not really reflective of the true amazing reality that we live in, that is way too complicated and way too multifaceted and endlessly interesting for us with our primitive brains and a primitive way of doing industry-funded science to comprehend. And that doesn't mean we shouldn't try to understand these things and experiment and be open to everything and keep doing studies and try to find the truth of it. But it means that we should be a little bit careful not to come to conclusions too quickly and become a little bit arrogant.
Well, that was just stupid. You're still stupid, and you're an idiot.